Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into something really important and often pretty complicated: child support.
Right. It's designed to help kids thrive, obviously.
But what happens when that support, maybe creates new challenges or just doesn't quite achieve what it set out to do?
That's the core question, isn't it? Our deep dive today pulls from, a whole range of perspectives looking at exactly that. When a child doesn't benefit, when a child is hurt by child support.
Okay.
So we've got academic studies, personal stories, legal takes, psychological reports, the whole gamut.
And mission.
The mission is really to pull out the most kind of surprising or crucial bits of info for you from all these different angles to get that full picture.
Yeah, what really stood out for me in the research was how often something with such good intentions can, accidentally cause new problems for families.
Exactly.
So let's unpack that, maybe starting with one of the most direct things our sources highlighted: strained parent-child relationships, particularly thinking about the non-custodial parent.
Yeah, it's a big one. It could be a huge psychological shift. The sources, they show that when child support becomes this massive financial weight or just a source of deep resentment, non-custodial parents often feel like they're not seen as a parent anymore, just a, quote, wallet.
Just a source of funds.
Right. And that feeling can lead to them pulling back, less engagement, sometimes even, total alienation from the child. We saw one story where someone just felt so much shame because they couldn't even afford a small birthday gift, and it just spiraled into less and less contact over time.
Gosh. And that pain for the child, I imagine it gets worse when the parents are fighting over the support itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When those disputes fuel conflict, ongoing legal battles, just that bitterness between parents, it creates what the sources call a toxic environment.
And kids are like sponges for that stuff.
Incredibly sensitive. What's really striking is how consistent the child development folks are on this. They often say that chronic stress from the parental conflict is a bigger predictor of negative outcomes long-term for kids than just the money situation alone.
More than the money.
Often, yeah. It can manifest as anxiety, kids acting out, trouble concentrating in school, aggression,
right,
and potentially even things like depression or anxiety disorders later in life, in adulthood.
So beyond the emotional side, there's also the financial pressure cooker it can create for the paying parent.
Definitely another key pressure point we saw. Sometimes the obligations are so tough they lead to, job loss or taking lower paying jobs, sometimes even homelessness.
Which then directly impacts the child again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It raises this really tough question. If that parent is struggling just to keep a roof over their own head, how can they provide anything extra? Gifts, sure, but also just a stable place for visits.
Yeah, a stable environment.
And some experts, like economists and social workers, they argue that if the calculations are too rigid or the enforcement too aggressive without considering the circumstances, it can actually backfire. It might lower the total earning potential for the whole family unit. And in the worst cases, it kind of pushes that parent right out of the child's life.
And then there's the transparency issue, right? Or how the money is actually used.
Yeah, that came up too. If the support doesn't seem to be directly helping the child, or if there's just zero clarity, kids, especially older ones who are aware of the fights, can get pretty cynical or distressed if they don't see the benefit themselves.
Okay, so this is where it all kind of comes together, right? Some of the research actually suggests that, especially in those really high conflict situations, formal child support might not always lead to better long-term economic outcomes for the kids when they grow up.
That's a really fascinating and kind of counterintuitive finding in some studies.
And even more concerning, linking it to worse withdrawn and aggressive behaviors in younger kids.
Right. If you connect those dots, it just highlights this super complex dance between money, relationships, and emotional health.
It's not just about the dollars and cents.
Not at all. The overall benefit to a child's development can be, really undermined if getting the financial support means sacrificing healthy parent relationships or living in a war zone, basically.
So, wrapping this up, what does this mean for you listening? It seems clear that even with the best intentions, the reality of child support can sometimes create these tough challenges that can hurt kids.
Precisely. And that's why looking at the data from all these different angles and multiple perspectives is so important. It helps us pinpoint where the system might need tweaks, where policies or practices could be reformed to better protect the kids they're meant to help.
Yeah. So here's something to maybe chew on after this. How can a system designed for such obvious good sometimes create these unexpected, really difficult downstream effects? And what does that tell us about how we should tackle complex social problems in general?